It's 6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundhi Thavam. The President said that while some are struggling for the presidency, his struggle is on behalf of the nation. The President stated that the people have the full right and freedom to make their own decisions. The President stressed that individuals have the right to make informed decisions. Today marks the centenary of radio broadcasting in Sri Lanka. MOP fertilizer provided free for paddy cultivation for the next 2 Maha seasons. The National Building Research Institute has issued early landslide warnings for 4 divisional secretariat divisions in 2 districts. The Ministry of Education states that all schools across the island will function as normal today. In foreign news, Julian Assange lands in Australia a free man. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that a final agreement was concluded with Sri Lanka's main official bilateral creditors in Paris yesterday, marking the end of debt restructuring negotiations with the Official Creditors Committee. Simultaneously, a final agreement was also reached with China's Exim Bank in Beijing, along with related formal procedures. President Wickremesinghe highlighted that these developments are good news for all patriots of the country. He underscored his commitment, contrasting those focused on presidential ambitions with his dedication to the nation's progress, emphasizing that his aspirations lie in advancing the country rather than personal positions. President Ranil Wickremesinghe made this statement delivering a special address yesterday. The President affirmed that he successfully led Mother Sri Lanka across the perilous Vine Bridge, fulfilling his commitment to the people. Similar to the tale of the Caucasian chalk circle, those who hesitated to safeguard the child in challenging times and offered no support are now vying to assert the child's rights before the country's and journey's completion. He emphasized his continued dedication to this cause. The President, who declared it a triumph for a country once deemed bankrupt due to its inability to pay its debts, further noted that no other country in recent history has emerged from such an economic abyss so swiftly. Quoting, "The people must determine whether to move forward with me, as I truly comprehend the challenges facing the country, provide practical solutions, and demonstrate tangible results, or align with groups that have yet to grasp the issues and are blindly seeking power," unquote, the President stated. The President stated that the people have the full right and freedom to make their own decisions, as everyone understands the dangers of taking the wrong path. He emphasized that the decision made by the people will determine the future of the children and the country, not the future of Ranil Wickremesinghe. The President also remarked that he did not recover a bankrupt and economically devastated country with a parliament controlled by his party, government officials appointed by him, or a cabinet selected by him. Instead, he was able to elevate the country to an alluring and stable level, surprising the world in just 2 years. He said that all are aware of the risks associated with choosing the wrong path. The President said that individuals have the right to make informed decisions. Having assumed leadership of the country unconditionally, he possessed only the conviction and a strategic plan to rescue the nation from its economic crisis. In recent history, no country has accomplished such a remarkable victory in such a brief span. Those who attempted to hinder this journey will one day face disgrace before their children for betraying their country. The President stressed that over the past 2 years, we have worked diligently to reach agreements with our bilateral creditors, engaging in extensive discussions. The economic progress we have achieved has provided us with considerable strength in these negotiations. He said that he extends his gratitude to our creditors, including China and Exim Bank of China, India, Japan and France, who co-chair the Official Creditors Committee. He stressed that he also thanks the other members of the committee and the Paris Club Secretariat for their support in making these negotiations successful. Today marks the centenary of the radio broadcasting in Sri Lanka. There is debate regarding the commencement of radio communications in Sri Lanka. One opinion holds that it began on June 27, 1924, while another suggests that official radio broadcasting commenced on December 16, 1925. However, official documents confirm that radio broadcasting in Ceylon officially began on June 27, 1924. Several individuals and organizations are noteworthy for introducing radio broadcasting to Sri Lanka. The Lanka Amateur Radio Society is one. L. McRae, the Director of Education in Ceylon at that time, established a Colombo Radio Club on November 24, 1922, along with other interested parties. In 1928, it was renamed the Lanka and South Indian Radio Club. Engineer Edward Harper played a crucial role in advancing the association's activities. Using radio equipment salvaged from a submarine and other necessary parts, Harper created a half-kilowatt radio transmission machine and installed it at the Central Telecommunications Office premises. This was a significant milestone in Sri Lanka's radio communications history. On February 22, 1924, the Young Men's Christian Association building in Colombo Fort was inaugurated. The Western music concert held that evening was broadcast as an experiment using the transmission machine, marking a successful experiment in broadcasting. On June 27, 1924, a speech delivered by then British Governor Henry William Manning to the Engineers Association was broadcast via radio. Based on this information, it is clear that radio broadcasting in Sri Lanka was officially inaugurated on June 27, 1924. Consequently, the centenary celebrations of radio broadcasting in Sri Lanka are being commemorated today. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Minister of Agriculture and Plantations Industries, Mahinda Amaraveera, announced that a national week for the implementation of the Youth Agri-Entrepreneurship Village program will be held from the 1st to the 7th of July. He also stated that the government has decided to provide free MOP fertilizer for paddy cultivation to farmers for the next 2 seasons. Minister Amaraveera made these comments during a press briefing themed A Collective Path to a Stable Country held at the Presidential Media Centre yesterday. The National Building Research Institute has issued early landslide warnings for 4 divisional secretariat divisions in 2 districts. Accordingly, an amber colour early warning of landslides has been issued for Paduka and in Ratnapura, Kuruvita and Alapatha divisional secretariat divisions in the Ratnapura district. This warning will be valid until 4 p.m. today. The Ministry of Education states that all schools across the island will function as normal today. This was communicated in a statement issued by the Ministry of Education yesterday. However, the General Secretary of the Ceylon Teachers Union, Joseph Starling, stated that the teacher-principal trade unions will continue their strike action as well, protesting against the firing of tear gas and water cannons to disperse their protest march in Colombo yesterday. The teacher-principal trade unions engaged in an island-wide trade union action by reporting sick leave yesterday based on several demands. At the same time, the members of the trade union launched a protest in Colombo which commenced from near the Colombo Fort railway station. Meanwhile, the non-academic staff of the government schools are also engaged in a strike action demanding a national policy for the non-academic service in the education sector. That concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda.
The US Ambassador Julie Chung says the US government is happy with the manner in which Sri Lanka has come to sign a debt restructuring deal with bilateral creditors. She was speaking at the inaugural Sri Lanka Strategic Trade Forum yesterday. Addressing the forum, she said that this is a tremendous positive step. The US Ambassador also said that though there is a long way to go, the implementation of the IMF program and the current reforms that are taking place too are praiseworthy. The event was co-hosted by the US Embassy and the Sri Lanka Department of Import and Export Control and convenes a diverse audience from government and the private sector to raise awareness about trade security practices that can provide a competitive advantage for global trade hubs. The event was co-sponsored by the Joint Apparel Association Forum, Ceylon Association of Shipping Agents and Shippers Academy, and funded by the US Departments of State's Export Control and Border Security Program. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Marine Forecasting Division of the National Meteorological Centre has issued an advisory of rough sea and strong winds. The naval and fishing communities are required to be vigilant in this regard, and that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, Julian Assange lands in Australia a free man. Kenya's president withdraws tax plan after deadly protest. And Supreme Court briefly issues opinion allowing Idaho abortions. Julian Assange has landed back home in his native Australia after a plea deal allowed him to walk free from a London prison. There were emotional scenes at the Canberra airport as the WikiLeaks founder kissed his wife and hugged his father. His lawyers watching on visibly moved. For the past 14 years, Assange has been in a legal battle with US officials who accused him of leaking classified documents, which they say put lives in danger. The 52-year-old did not attend the news conference in Canberra, instead letting his lawyer and wife speak for him. The couple married in London's Belmarsh prison in 2022 and have 2 children together. The plea deal saw Julian Assange plead guilty to one charge of conspiracy to obtain and disclose national defense information rather than the 18 he was originally facing. The case centered around a massive WikiLeaks disclosure in 2010 when the website released a video from a US military helicopter which showed civilians being killed in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Kenya's President William Ruto says he will withdraw a finance bill containing controversial tax hikes after deadly protests which saw Parliament set ablaze on Tuesday. In an address to the nation, he said, "It was clear that Kenyans want nothing to do with the bill." Quoting, "I concede," unquote, he said, adding that he would not sign the bill into law. At least 22 people were killed in Tuesday's protests, according to the state-funded Kenya National Communication on Human Rights. Mr. Ruto said he would now enter into dialogue with the young people who were at the forefront of the biggest protest to hit the country since he was elected in 2022. The bill was passed by Parliament on Tuesday, despite nationwide demonstrations against it. The US Supreme Court has accidentally leaked a major opinion on abortion rights, appearing ready to overturn part of Idaho's near-total ban. According to a document published on the court's website before being quickly removed, justices will rule that Idaho cannot deny emergency abortions to women whose health is in danger. The court said the opinions initially obtained by Bloomberg was inadvertently and briefly published, that its final decision has not been released but would be presented in due course. Its publication, however, comes 2 years after the leaking of the court's decision to overturn the national right to abortion access, known as Roe v. Wade. Since then, a patchwork of abortion laws have been established as more conservative states, such as Idaho, restrict rights to the procedure. The state is one of 14 that have banned abortion at all stages of pregnancy, with extremely limited exceptions. Back to the headlines of the world news. Julian Assange lands in Australia a free man. Kenya's president withdraws tax plan after deadly protest. And the Supreme Court briefly issues opinion allowing Idaho abortions. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
The President's Media Division says that Sri Lanka signed the debt treatment agreements in Beijing with the China Exim Bank to restructure $4.2 billion of debt. The framework agreement related to this was signed between Sri Lanka and China in Colombo. According to the President's Media Division, this restructuring provides significant debt relief, allowing Sri Lanka to allocate more funds to essential public services and resume concessional financing for critical infrastructure development. That came to you in development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Romania finished top of Group E as they and Slovakia reached the last 16 at Euro 2024 with an entertaining draw in Frankfurt. Ondrej Duda gave Slovakia a 24th-minute lead when he got in behind the Romanian defence to power in a header from Juraj Kuka's pinpoint cross. Both sides showed plenty of attacking intent, and Romania equalized before half-time as Răzvan Marin fired a ferocious penalty into the top corner after David Hanko fouled Inais Hagi in the box. Belgium reached the knockout stages of Euro 2024 as group runners-up, but Ukraine exited the competition following their goalless draw in Stuttgart. All 4 teams in Group E started the evening level on points with a chance of progression, but an inferior goal difference meant Ukraine knew their fate also depended on the outcome of Slovakia's tie with Romania, which ended in a 1-1 draw. All that came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dekapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
German car-making giant Volkswagen says it will invest up to $5 billion in Tesla rival Rivian. The deal creates a joint venture that will allow Volkswagen and the US-based electric vehicle maker to share technology. Rivian shares jumped by almost 50% after the announcement. The tie-up comes as competition intensifies between EV makers and Western countries move to impose tariffs on Chinese imports. Under the agreement, Volkswagen said it will initially invest $1 billion in the electric truck and SUV maker, with another $4 billion to be put into the company by 2026. Founded in 2009, Rivian has not yet posted a quarterly profit. In the first 3 months of 2024, the company saw a net loss of more than $1.4 billion. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business news, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dekapu hina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the US Justice Department has reached an agreement with fugitive financier Joe Law to return more than $100 million allegedly embezzled from Malaysia's state-owned wealth fund as part of the 1MDB scandal. The US said artworks by artists Andy Warhol and Claude Monet and a luxury flat in Paris would be liquidated and assets worth $67 million released to Malaysia. That came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
Showers will occur at times in the western, Sabragamo and northwestern provinces, also in Kandy, Norelia, Gaul and the Mathura districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the Matale and Hamathura districts. Strong winds of about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces, and also in the Trincomalee, Hambantota and Monoragala districts. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President said that while some are struggling for the presidency, his struggle is on behalf of the nation. The President stated that the people have the full right and freedom to make their own decisions. The President stressed that individuals have the right to make informed decisions. Today marks the centenary of the radio broadcasting in Sri Lanka. MOP fertilizer provided free for paddy cultivation for the next 2 Maha seasons. The National Building Research Institute has issued early landslide warnings for 4 divisional secretariat divisions in 2 districts. The Ministry of Education states that all schools across the island will function as normal today. And Julian Assange lands in Australia a free man. That concludes this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to your host across the glass pane, Dilshan, to keep you going this rather wet and gloomy Thursday morning. A very good morning to you, Dilshan, and it's all yours.
A very good morning to you as well, Saudi, and thank you for bringing the main news broadcast. And yes, it is a very important day for us as broadcasters, celebrating 100 years of radio broadcasting here in Sri Lanka. So, and of course, we cannot forget you as well, dear listeners, because without you, we won't be here. So the time right now is 7:04. A very good morning to you, and you are with Radio Sri Lanka on the island-wide frequencies of 97.4 and 97.6, and also on the web at www.slbc.lk.